ways to try to ease our minds, forced into a change. I guess it had to be this way. But do your best to try to stay away. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. So hold on to the love, don't you be afraid. There come a time when you will have your say, and don't forget to pray the Lord to keep us safe. We will live to fight another day, the day they closed the world. We all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter days. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realize what it means to try. The day they closed the world, we all went outside, looking for the light. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter days. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. The day they close the world.
Good morning! Welcome to Spirituality Gone Wild. I am Debbie G. It's time for a Cuppa Grata. That's a shot of expression and 2 squirts of reality. And today I have an awesome co-squirt. You guys are going to dig this chick. She's so cool. Alexandria Lewis, but Alexandria Loves is what she goes by today. And you guys are going to find out because she's just full of love and spunk and spirit. And that's what I dig about her. In fact, when I met her because she was needing to talk to me about some things that she wasn't in alignment with, not with me per se, but just with life. And without getting too deep into that, we started talking, and it's like the reason she was out of alignment with things she was out of alignment with is so that she and I could get into alignment and totally get to know each other. Because oh my God, you guys have no idea. I'm going to bring her up. She's the coolest young lady. Sorry, not girl. See what happens when you're old enough to be everyone's mama? You just call, you know what I mean? You feel me? I'm telling you guys, she's a rock star. She does oracle reading. She has got, listen to this, she's got a workshop on anti-racism. If you guys can like sink your teeth into this. I mean, this young lady is here to save the world, save the planet, and change some perspectives. Good morning, Alexandra.
Good morning. I love your energy this morning.
Thank you. It's a cup of grata, which is a gratitude, or in my case, a cup of coffee. Cheers, baby.
Cheers.
Okay, so you know, I didn't want to talk too much about the why you were out of alignment, but actually, I'll let you talk about all. Share anything you'd want to because that's your prerogative. I just am grateful that you like hit me up and we started talking and it was just like, oh my, are you? And I'm just going, is this girl for real? Like, just absolutely amazing, amazing. And good morning to the audience that's popping on. I see you guys.
Good morning. Welcome.
I see her.
Really, for some people.
Oh, it's really early for Hawaii there. Hi, Eddie. I love you. I love you guys.
Hello.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Alexandria Loves. And you guys want to stay tuned because you're going to hear about an awesome event that this woman is co-producing here coming up very, very soon. But girl, let's just, I don't even know where to start with you. You're young, you're vivacious, and you're a mover and a shaker. And let's talk about a little bit about your journey, not a whole lot, just to talk about how we got up to this point.
Well, we got up to this point. You and I met because we were both part of or potentially you were part of an event. I was potentially part of an event. Things just got overlooked. It was just normal mistakes. And I was sort of reflecting on what I was seeing. And there were just certain things that I felt like weren't done well. But I think there were things that weren't done well as far as how I sort of got left out of that event. But I also knew that it wasn't a personal thing, and it wasn't a personal thing, and it wasn't like because people were being malicious or anything like that. It was just because I throw events myself, so I understand how it happened. But my concerns were just that I wasn't seeing as much color, as much melanin, and it seemed in that particular event, and it seemed to not match sort of the the objective and the mission of what they were trying to do. And so I was just reflecting on it, and I was trying to figure out who do I talk to about it. And that's how Debbie and I met, which is really cool.
Yes, it is.
And how I got to this place was I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. I grew up in an international community. I didn't grow up with the identity of Black or African American, but when I came to the United States, when I was like 15 and started living here part-time, I started having to be, that identity got put on me, and what everybody thought about that identity, whether it's from people who looks like me or people who didn't look like me. And that put me on this long journey.
Wow. That had to
identity.
That's just like, I mean, I'm just like I'm imagining you at that age at 15. 15 is hard enough as it is, right? Anybody out there remember being 15? Remember this? But to then all of a sudden be told that you have to be a certain thing, or you are a certain thing. Not that you have to be anything, that you are this. Rather, man.
Yeah,
like,
and the
that's
world around
insane.
you agrees that you are this. They all have different perspectives of what it is, but the world around you, all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you're Black, you're African American." I'm like, "What is that? What does that even mean?"
Holy mackerel! How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I love. You know why I think it's awesome? Because I am loving how that you were not even aware of this up until that point. I think I wish this for our country and for every other country that is still needing to separate by skin color or race or creed or anything. That is seriously, that one gives me chills. You guys out there listening, does that give you chills to even consider what that must be like? So I mean, what was going through your head at that moment when people are just like telling you that you're this? Yeah,
Well,
I mean, you go home and mom, what's up? Am I an
so
alien?
something really energetic happened, really clearly energetic happened, and I had to work for over a decade to undo this for myself. And that is, it was like, I swear it was within the first 3 days of school. So the first 3 days of me touching down for my first time living in the United States. And I was at this college preparatory boarding school in New England. And I was like, what is this? What, these are, and also these are kids mostly who had never been out of the country. I had traveled the world at this point.
Wow.
I'm usually like ages older in maturity and experience than the people I'm around. And so this is day like 3 or something like that. And my counselor tells me I have to join the Black Students Union. And I was like, why? And he goes, because you're Black. And immediately I felt this like I felt my throat just go shh.
Wow.
And it wasn't about a Black pride or Black girl mad. It was about what was behind the construction of what it means, of the, I don't know how to put this in simple terms, but like the negative stuff about the racism, like all the stuff that's attached, that Black people experience, not the being Black itself, but all the experience that comes with it and the trauma that comes with it. It was just like, phew. I didn't know that at the time. I'm still learning how to put it into words, but I was like, I've never even, I understood at that time in my life that I was identified that way by some people, but it just was not something that I heard very often. And it wasn't something that I explored for myself.
Right.
My parents would talk about being Black or African American, but because I was born and raised in a completely different country, when they talked about the States, it was this foreign country, still is to me, of this foreign country, this foreign identity. And my brother and I were just like these completely different entities in our family. So for the year, now I'm 37. That was when I was 15. For many years after that, there was this sort of identity crisis, trying to understand, like, what is this identity that's Black and African American? And because of that, I just have done a lot of spirit work around racial identity and what it means. And it's been a really, I've been settled in who I am for a while now, but it's been a really interesting journey.
I want to say I can imagine, but really I can't. I mean, I can be empathetic, but let's face it. I mean, you've got a whole lot of people. Oh no, I understand. No, I really don't. I'm going to be honest. I think that we should give respect to that. Like I can only imagine what you've been through, and my empathy is more to the effect of, wouldn't it be great if we could all just accept each other just as we are, period, without any judgment whatsoever? Judgment is something I can share an experience with you, Alexandra, that happened to me in high school. And
Yeah.
I don't, and it's not the same, but it has a little bit of the same twist, and you'll see why. So my last name is Garcia, and it's been my name since I was 2. My dad is my stepfather. And when I was in high school, I was on a waiting list to get into Western Christian. I grew up in a place called Diamond Bar, California. And so it's okay. And right next to Pomona in California, which is like a miniature Los Angeles kind of. So I had to go to high school in Pomona to a place called Gary. Gary High School is like, right now, if you drive by, it's got bars, but we already had cops on the campus when I went there. Now I want you to imagine I'm 5'10", white, and I'm going to an all Black Mexican school.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I am the minority now. But so the first thing I heard was, there's the rich white bitch getting off the bus, right? And I'm like, oh my God, my ass is gone. I've never been in a fight in my life. Oh my God, I'm going to die, right? I'm still going to die. And but the intrigue to the fact that my last name's Garcia, my eyes were blue, made everybody stop and say, the intrigue and the curiosity saved my butt, can I tell you? So I've always been the person, I don't know if it's my Aquarius in me or what, but
yes.
oh, I know, because you're an Aquarius too, right?
Yes.
I knew it. Yeah. So we just have this ability to get along with everybody. Like we're not specific to, I've never been that way. And I know it's just how it is. My granddaughter is too, by the way. She's the same way. We just are, I don't know. I don't know that if it's quote unquote an Aquarian thing or if it's just a human thing that we just like people.
Yes.
But what I discovered is that their curiosity is what stopped it. But I was on the opposite end of the spectrum here at Gary. I was the minority. They were just like, you know, and I was confused because my dad's Mexican, my mom's a redhead. I didn't understand. I grew up in the most multiracial neighborhood you could ever imagine. Like,
Yeah.
we had every race at my school. The guys that lived down the family at the end of my street, the Edwards, the dad was one of the biggest judges around. They were friends with Muhammad Ali. Like
Yeah.
this wasn't I didn't get this. Okay. And I still have a hard time. Like, what's wrong with you people? Have you?
Well, the
Yeah.
experience you had is that you have an experience that is, you know, it's becoming less rare, but it's sort of this unique experience, and I think that it's important for people who have this experience to be teaching other people. Like, for example, I have friends who are in Hawaii who grew up in Hawaii, who are white people who are the minority, and it's in Hawaii, like the Polynesian culture, the Asian culture is like very strong, and
Right.
and there is a lot of like hatred towards people who are white there. Now that's a different now that is we can't ignore that the system, even if you are a white minority, if you're in one of these rare situations where you're a white minority, we don't ignore that the system is still a white supremacist system, but you still have an experience that can help other people understand to some degree sort of what it's like, just to, you know, to some, and
to some degree.
To some degree, and that's an important distinction. And we're in a time now where we need all hands on deck. We need everybody to be able to you know, recognize. And
Here
right,
they are. Here
right.
they are.
There's something else I want to point out too, and that is, you know, there is this sort of idea, this idea that we all, I think most of us want, which is, can't we all just get along, and can we get
girl, I'm old enough to remember when that was said for real. No,
we all just get
Rodney King. Dude, Rodney King did it. I'm right, because I'm 52. I actually remember. I don't even. Yeah.
So can we get all along? Aren't we all
of
the
us,
same and everything? And like, one thing I want to remind viewers, whoever sees this now or in a replay, is that yes, that's great, but don't let that be a crutch or a pass for ignoring that there still is systemic racism. That it's actually a privilege if you are white or white passing. It's a privilege to be able to say that and be like, I'm working towards getting, you know, to making sure that we all recognize each other as one race. If you're in a position of being identified as white, or if you identify as white, that's a lot easier said and done on your end than it is for somebody of color, because the way the system is set up is that the people of color are at the bottom and the white people are at the top. So I'm just saying, like, yes, that's a great goal, but be very careful of when and how you express it, and who you're expressing that to, because everybody treating each other the same is a different experience for you than it is for somebody of color.
that would be true. That's true. What a great expansion on that, though. I really dig it. I love it when we get to open our minds and expand it. So I may encourage everybody that just listened to that to open it up and expand. And Eddie says the Aquarians are in the house. Kelly Bird, I'm glad that you're digging it. Yay!
Hey.
So
Aquarians.
we are in the age of Aquarius. I mean, seriously, we really are. It's just
We really
are. So what I love is that you actually have a course out. And I want to talk for a second about this. I want to talk for a minute about this course, because you guys, listen, if you've got the opportunity to learn from somebody who actually has lived and walked and talked it, that's always a good thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. And this is like one of the things, I'm just going to pull it up now just so I can, this is one of the things that I'm that you're hearing out there when you're hearing amplify Black voices, learn from Black leadership. It's because if you go to the source of, we're talking about a group of people who've experienced a lot of pain when it comes to how we interact with race in this country. We're talking about the group of people that need the most support right now, and so. And so when I hear things like amplify Black voices, like follow Black leadership, and this is how I'm doing that as someone who's identified as Black, is bringing my, I'm a spiritual teacher. That's why I do spiritual guidance. So I always look at how we interact with racism, whether you're white or Black, from a spiritual perspective, looking at racism as and white supremacism as a condition and as a disease, rather than, because I think that we all have it and we all have to deal with it. Now, there are some people out there who straight up like, I am a white supremacist, but that's not who I'm trying to, those people aren't trying to work with me. That's not what I'm trying to work
I'm not imagining so. In fact, I'm kind of thinking, nah, they're too busy being who they are.
Yeah, if they stay there, they're not going to the new world anyway. So I'm not really even worried about that.
Right? I mean, it's kind of true. And as soon as you're done there, I want to talk about how that you got into your spiritual journey, because that's also very fascinating. But okay, so more about the course.
Yeah, so this course is called the Anti-Racism Journey, and the 2020 is a really interesting year because I set out in the beginning of this year. I said, before anything happened, we even knew about COVID here. I was saying this year I'm going to just hunker down, I'm going to step back, and I'm going to fill all the classes of the Spiritual Foundations Library. That's the library I created. It's on my website, alexandrialewis.com. And I have all these classes I've taught over all the years on empaths and vampires, love. I've been doing a lot of counseling when it comes to racism and identity. And I do that differently with white people, people of color, and that I do with white people and people. I do it slightly differently because it's, it manifests differently. Mm-hmm. And this year I decided to put it all in my classes. And I was like, okay, so every season I'm going to have a class come out. The first class was spirits and ancestors, and that's sitting there for anybody to take. And now it is the Anti-Racist Journey, which starts in a couple weeks here. And so this course is really about looking at white supremacism, looking at, even some of the vocab that we get, white supremacism, anti-racism, white tears, white fragility, looking at all this from the perspective from what's coming within. Because truthfully, you can take all the anti-racism classes, you can take the sensitivity classes and the allyship classes. And what I find is that when people really anchor it in to their spirit and to their self-interest of their spirit, then that's when they start committing to these things for life. And that's when they start teaching their children. And that's when it starts being something that all of a sudden starts affecting all of their communities and the people around them in profound ways. And that's my goal with this leg of my work, is to get people to create to anti-racist culture for a lifetime.
I can dig on that.
Yeah, so we go into all these things, and we also talk about, and a big part of this course is breaking the ancestral legacy and the roles we play in terms of power and privilege when it comes to racism, white supremacism. And again, I want to say, for those who might have caught it, white supremacism I look at it as a condition, a disease we all have. And that's not always the easiest thing to accept, but this is how this country is built, it's how we're conditioned. And so it's, we are moving into a new world where, I'm just going to say it out flat, if you're not doing this work, it's going to get more and more difficult for you. It's something that cannot be ignored anymore. By this time next year, if you're not starting to dig in for yourself, and it's not going to be fun or easy, but if you don't start to dig in on this for yourself, then it's going to get harder and harder for you to show up in your life the way you want to show up. And so I have that course. And the way I design the course also is so that it's really a press play and absorb course. It's not a course where you're adding like a whole bunch of stuff to your life and have to show up on time to stuff. It really is like, show up, be a receiver of these transmissions, If you didn't think you got everything you needed, come back and press play again. It's yours forever. It's designed in that way for it to just drop into your life and sort of infiltrate and help rebalance and help heal some of the stuff that has really caused toxicity in all of us, you know.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's the
And they can join the course right here. You guys see it's floating across the screen,
yeah,
alexandraloves.com right here.
it's If you go to the Spiritual Foundations Library, the courses somewhere on my website, there's like courses, and you can check it out there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm digging on this. And what I think I've heard you say here is that not only are you helping people to understand, and because I think that's the understanding is our biggest, we need to understand. We need to be willing to open ourselves up to understand. And if you aren't willing to do that, when she says the work, I'm imagining what you mean is getting real with yourself, transparent, and taking your own self responsibility. You know, one thing about this is that each person takes their own self responsibility. So if every person was taking their own self responsibility, I think we'd see a huge change in all things. Because if I'm
Yes.
taking self responsibility, I'm not pointing fingers out there, you know. So and I like to be that example, but I love that you have a space right now for people who are curious, who maybe want to see things in a different light. So I really do encourage you guys to go over and
Yes.
get that course. They're asking me to talk about your spiritual journey. So
Yeah.
you got it, guys. Here we go.
So you know, I come from a super intuitive family, and when I put the course in that private chat, the specific course in the private chat for you there.
Okay, great.
You know, the spiritual journey. So I grew up in a really intuitive family, and I also grew up in a family that always, you know, people just naturally come to my mom and dad for advice and counseling, whether it was my friends or their friends. It was just something that was normal to see my parents having long, deep conversations with
How
everyone in
cool.
our community. That's not like what they did as a job. It's just what happens, you know, and that
Yeah.
was my family. And so I've always been sort of you know, I grew up rejecting sort of the religion, my my mom's religion. My mom's Catholic, and I just grew up knowing I wasn't Christian, and I don't have anything against it. It just wasn't for me. I was destined as a small child to look for the old ways. And so as I was growing up, you know, I studied different parts of yoga with a yogi, and was sort of then I got into the law of attraction world. And you know, I was just always searching for like, what is it? I know I have purpose and passion. I know there's something bigger for me as far as spirituality goes, and I know I haven't met sort of with my spiritual family or spiritual teachings that make sense for me. And so I learned a lot of things on the way, and eventually I realized that I needed to go back to the seed. And I also needed to understand sort of my own gifts of sight, my own gifts of things that I just know that I don't understand how I know, of perspectives that seem to just be dropping in for me that I was struggling to help have other people understand. And also just being visited by spirits. That was happening too. And I was like, I don't know. And I live in Portland, which is like, you can find almost every spirituality here except for Black, except for like indigenous African spiritualities. You can find all the other ones here.
Really?
And yes, Portland is a hub for spirituality and healing work.
I didn't know this, actually, guys. No
Yes,
joke.
yeah. It's a really big deal. Like all the different types of spiritualities, and like especially healing arts and stuff like that, and sound healing, like sound arts and stuff like that. But I couldn't find it. And I was like, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I still am not finding this. And then that led me to, through a long series of events, finding West African spirituality. And as soon as I found my, my godmother, my teacher, of that, it was like all of a sudden, my dreams that were already vivid started becoming more specific. All of a sudden, my certain things that had happened in my life started making sense. All this, it was just like the pieces started filling in, and the gifts the sensitivity gifts, I always identify as like what we now would call an empath, right? But all of a sudden, the understanding the greater sort of details and understandings of these gifts, I just had this clarity of like, oh, I'm an oracle. That's what it is. So I started really getting deep into these studies, and she was like, you should just come to Africa. And I was like, how am I going to do that? I was like, yes, I can save for it, but how, my gigs are random. So I'm like, how am I going to make the time, And as soon as I said yes to that, one of the gigs I have is I work for doctors. So their stuff is random,
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I said, yes, I am, like next day, the doctors told me, hey, they made some sort of mistake in our schedule for this time next year. And instead of having like a week or something off, we're going to have a whole month off. So we think you should go travel because that's what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, I'm the next day when I said, yeah.
No way. Wait, that's cool.
So this time last year, I was in Africa, and I went through, many processes that I would have had I been a child there in that spirituality. So initiations, understanding myself better. And a lot of the spirituality is cleaning your family, protection, cleaning your family, rebalancing your family, yourself and your family. Look, there's spirits and ancestor when we have our lines, when we're remade and remade. There's always going to be someone in the family, even if the whole family is strictly evangelical. There's always going to be one or two, many born with the potential, but there's always going to be one or two who are going to answer the call of going back to the old ways. Always. It's in the cycles of
that would be the one that's the oddball. Like me,
yeah.
For real. I was brought up Christian and Catholic. My dad Catholic, my mom Christian, hardcore. Then I adopted a lot of the Christianity for a long time, and I always knew there was something. Oh, there was something else. Like you could feel it inside, So in that moment when you realize that at one minute with God sourced energy, it's like you just are.
Yeah.
There's no more labels. There's no more need for identity, because as you said, I believe we have been so many things before. So this is just one of the experiences that we're getting to have. But this one right now in this particular time is we are actually watching the world transform.
Yes.
We are part of the energy that keeps the vibration high. We're part of the energy that sees what's really happening, and it's like we know how to rock and roll in this. We were born to rock this stuff. It's just so this is just cool.
Yes, and so this is before I started doing publicly started doing the anti-racism work, and by anti-racism I want to be really clear that I'm using the words it's actually sort of against what we think of as spiritual thought. And spirit, when we're talking about creating from spirit, we're always talking about don't go against what's already there, create something that it's eventually just overtake it. And so the reason I want to say that the course that I'm doing right now, anti-racism, is because we need anti-venom now. We're talking about an immediate issue right now. So I tell people to think of it as the anti-venom. Hopefully 6-7 years from now, it won't need to be anti-racism, and it will be something else. But back to the spiritual work, that's the core of my work. The anti-racism stuff started recently because people kept telling me you need to tell people that this is one of the things that you do. But really the work that I do is I work with all, but mostly women, and it's creating the life you want by being who you are. So I work with a lot of women who are in this place that you're talking about, where they're all of a sudden they're realizing, or they might already know, a lot of women who are in this transition of sort of up leveling, becoming bigger, a huge evolution to understand their gifts that help them sort out this world, their power to create success and bring in, money resources and living resources for themselves. Women who are returning back into the world after a trauma. That's a lot of the spiritual work that I do. And also because of my initiations, because I work with ancestors, I also in this work am working, kind of sitting in Congress with their ancestors and their spirits going, okay, what is it what doors need to be opened for this woman? What seeds do we need to reveal so that they can be their own healers, so they can create their own success, so they can find their own power. And so that is the main work that I do.
The walk of the way showers,
Yeah, because all these people right now, like who's on this earth right now is mostly, whether you know it or not, warriors, teachers, guides. We have a variety of more than that. But right now, and you can consult Oracle on this, of many original people's oracles and prophecies. We are in a war right now. This is the war. If you have fear about a war coming, it's here already. We've been in it for a while. It's a spiritual war, and it also manifests as a psychological war, especially in this country. And so if you were born specifically at this time, there's a record that your spirits and ancestors were consulting when you were made. And they knew what was coming. They also knew the potentials of what could be. And you were born specifically for this because you have like whole congregations behind you and civilizations behind you. And that includes the revolutionaries, it includes the healers, it includes the builders, it also includes the warriors, every single one of us. And so this is a lot of the material of the warriors, the teachers, and the guides. That's a lot of the material of the people who are on earth right now to build the new world.
I totally agree with you 100%. Donna's saying reincarnation with a question mark. So I'm imagining that means, do you believe in reincarnation?
Reincarnation is something that I've been exploring quite a bit. Everybody means something a little bit different when they say it, depending on how they came into it, what they're studying and what they feel and what they know. When I look, my understanding is that when we're made, we have spirits and ancestors that come together and give their material to make you. That's your spirit. It goes into your body. Then you have the spiritual journey of being human on earth, right? And I'm saying it in very simplistic terms, as if they're just like, oh, like I'm saying very simplistic terms. But there's this level of sort of understanding a dimensionality that we don't really witness here on earth of drawing from different materials from the spiritual family of eons of many different dimensions of spiritual material that comes from deity and your own ancestors that mixes in a way. Like when I say mix, I don't even know how to explain that in a dimensionality that we would understand. So we're always drawing from sort of when we talk about reincarnation, we're always drawing from like a group, right? We're always drawing from a group. There might be a cousin group over here. There might be a daughter group over here. There might be a related spiritual group, maybe a deity that is of the high waters and a deity is of the low waters. When you're made, you're drawing from like and aligned groups. There has to be some sort of alignment within you to be able to make you whole, right? And so when I look at it, reincarnation, I look at that sort of dimensionality that comes from spirits and ancestors. Because you have eons of ancestors behind you, there might be a whole era of ancestors that you might not be drawing from in this human life, right? So it just depends. That's why that when you're made, the record is consulted first. So when I think of reincarnation, I'm thinking of all that dimensionality and not necessarily just like this is this exact sort of being that came back, though that still happens as well. And
yeah, I mean, you have children. You've got children who are 2 and 3 years old talking about remembering their past life. I mean, there's a lot of it going on. And I had my DNA done because I don't know my biological dad at all. So I have no clue what's there. Like and my mom's just like not about to tell me either. And I'm just like, okay, so I had my DNA done and I had the one that goes back to the 16th century.
wow.
I have like 7% shoot, I can't remember it now. Mongolian?
Wow.
Mongolian. Like I have a lot of Asian ancestry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really bizarre but mostly I'm a gargantuan. So
Gargantuan.
well, I'm a Scandinavian. Gargantuan is
Oh.
I made it up, honey. It's not real. I promise.
Oh, okay. I was like,
So I got it. But yeah, the ancestry thing, you guys, is like, really think about the fact that our cells are made up from this planet. Like we are part of the cellular structure. Plants have some of the same components that we do. I mean, everything is working off of this cellular structure that's molecular here, and we're all have pieces of that molecular structure throughout time. I mean, I have no clue what the male side of me came from, but none. But it's still like, there's that ancestry, you can kind of tap into it, and really, I mean, I was kind of shocked too, right? I mean, and considering that my mother won't tell me, it's like, really gets you thinking, right?
Yeah.
Totally. So
there's, especially if you have come from a super mixed background, like by the way, that's part of white supremacism, how it affects everyone, is if you have mixing in your background, a lot of we find this a lot. I find this a lot with people who are searching, whose parents won't tell them. If there's mixing in your background, it's something that white supremacism in our structure says, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. That's why.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I feel like my family's from New Orleans, and this is all over the country. If you have some sort of mix in your background that and your family is passing white, you don't talk about it, because that means that you might be treated like people of color. So it's not that we're white supremacists and we're in a white supremacist system that has educated us to think like that's worse, and we don't want to be treated that way. Don't let anybody know that we're not white.
Wow. So here's something cool. I'm glad I'm a warrior and I'm a rebel. And you're a rebel. We are the rebel with a cause. We got a cause. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. You guys listen. Spirituality Gone Wild has a brand new VIP members only program. Hi, Ellie. Good morning. Hi, Lewis. Hi, Edith. Hi, Donna. Hi, everyone. Guys, listen. $14 is what we're offering it for right now. It's an introductory thing, and I'm going to play my cute little promo, and it's not long, I promise.
I love a video where everybody's dancing.
SpiritualityGoneWild.com. You guys go join our VIP membership for $14. Get in right now while I'm pricing it at that, because we've got cool stuff in the back end. And you're not going to want to miss this. It's like all this cool stuff. All of the hosts are giving special content every single month, and it's just completely cool. And you know something, when I was making that video, Alexandra, I was thinking, I'm like, dancing, movement, just like we forget how to have fun. We forget how to just be and just allow ourselves. There's so much going on in the world right now that
especially with those who have a cause in this world.
Exactly. And I'm grateful personally that you're the one that is stepping forward in a way that's actually providing a solution, because I'm all about solutions. And we can talk about what the issues are all day long, but you're a person who's actually showing up and saying, we do have these issues, and here's the solution that I'm bringing. So, and people, that's one of the biggest kudos we could give this planet, is to be part of the solution. I'm on peace2030.earth, which is a peace games, and we'll be doing a huge onboarding on Unify on Sunday. And this is just peace2030.earth. One of they changed it to the second act is befriending others, befriending those that you would not normally befriend. So I'm part of the solution through peace, through 7 different actions, and you can get gold medals doing things that you normally already do, but really bringing the intention forward to be kind to others, to do it on purpose. So that's why I just love the solutions. That's because that's what it is all about. And speaking of solutions, you are co-producing. Dude, I can't even get over this right now.
2 things, actually.
You are doing, oh my God, you're doing 2. I know. Okay, so I got to tell you all, she's doing the G Fest, the Goddess Fest. And let me tell you that I was talking to Michaela Lev, who's the producer of this. And Michaela and I are talking, and she's like, Debbie, I just don't know anybody that's like really exactly who I need to represent Black Lives Matter. Okay. And I'm like, I do. I know who. And it was so instantaneous, Alexandra. It's like spirit and all the angels are just going, we know, here you go, blinking. It was like a blinking neon sign, and I'm cracking up. And all of a sudden I had that knowingness of going, aha.
I so appreciate it.
It's not even me, dude. That's just from the planet going, I was just stoked. Anyway, you guys, let's talk about the events you got going.
So first I do want to say one thing. As far as Black Lives Matter and Black Lives Movement, I don't totally align with the organization of Black Lives Matter. And so because of that, I just say Black Lives Movement, because I also don't totally align with most activist circles either. And so what's
You're
important?
So Aquarius. You're so freaking Aquarian. Oh my God.
I think it's important. I think it's important because a lot of people are confused because they think if they're saying Black Lives Matter, it also has to mean the organization. So there's an organization, there's the organization, and there's the truth of the truth that Black Lives Matter. But because of all of what we see online and everything, I just say Black Lives Movement now, because it makes more sense. It feels more like revolutionary to me. I'm aligned with it. And also, yes, I'm an Aquarius.
Okay, because I think we go against the grain. I think we're born this way to go against the grain. It's like, oh, you want me to go that way? No.
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
but that's going to take you a lot longer. But it's more scenic, right?
Exactly. It's more scenic. Exactly. You get it. So, so I partnered with Michaela Lev for G Fest, which is coming up on October 16th through 18th. It is healers, light workers, goddesses, queens, and what there's a lot of priestess work going on there. There's a lot of divine empowerment and leadership going on. What I'm there specifically for is because Michaela and her team were clear on, and obviously Debbie said this, clear on wanting to honor and to support and uplift BIPOC voices. And so I am organizing with her a panel that's talking about activism, activism, ancestry, and healing as we build this new world. And there are so many amazing people coming in on that panel. And there's classes, there's a panel and there's classes you can take, and there's classes you can take in all the things I mentioned every day of that weekend. So that's coming. And G-Fest, it's interesting because before Michaela reached out to me through Debbie, I actually was tagged in a whole bunch of G-Fest stuff a few months ago. And every time it came up on my Facebook, I was like, this is awesome. This is really cool. Like, I want to be a part of this. And then I never thought about it again. And then boom, Spirit was like, you can be. Bing, Debbie, bing, Michaela. And then, this
is crazy great. Well, I have the tentative schedule at this point, but you guys, check this out. So here we go.
Yay!
So everybody can look at this. Is Goddess Rising, the online summit, and this is October 16th through the 18th, 2020. And this is just, look at this: interactive immersion, workshop, speakers, panels, ceremony, sister circles, networking, and the BIPOC community is you. Yes.
Yes.
The BIPOC community discussion and incredible lineup of musicians and performances. I do know the tickets are $97, and I can put a link in here in the comment section later for you guys. Or Alexandra, do you have your link for the G-Fest?
No, I have not gotten my link yet. So,
okay,
but I will at some point.
All right. So I'll tell you what, guys, what's going to happen is but you're going to be back. I'm going to need you to come back anyway, because we're going to be interviewing a lot of the panelists that are coming. So I'm really stoked about that.
Yes.
And somebody says that Black Lives Matter is funded by George Soros.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know much.
I don't either.
I just don't pay attention to the organization so much.
I really don't either, actually. I live in a bubble. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in a long time. So, so you're working on 2 events. So the G-Fest is one, yes. But you've got another one.
Yes. So Africa Week is coming. Africa Week was born by Dima Mahmood. And when she was starting it, we were talking about me just doing something there. This is in May. And immediately I saw the vision. I was like, I'm going to do this with you. So then Africa Week 2020 became ours. And we do events that are for Africa and all of her diaspora, connecting people, building the bridges, being the bridges. And we do online streaming events that are all about community and activism and cooking and dance and tech and culture and heritage. Whatever our participants bring, we will put it on our platform. And we do this through panels and interviews and all sorts of ways of presenting. And it grew really fast after our first event. And we did then, a couple more events. And we ended up having like 50,000, 60,000 people from all over the world, the continent, the Caribbean, Europe. Now we're dipping into Asia. I think we have our first Black Filipinos who are working with us now into Latin America, and of course all over the United States. And our event starts on Monday. It goes from Monday the 21st to Sunday the 27th, and we have I can't even explain to you like everything that's happening, but okay, there's going to be some cooking. There's going to be some Ethiopian cooking. There's going to be some cooking from Ghana. There's going to be,
Where is this? Is it online?
It's all online at Africa Week 2020 on Facebook. If you just look up Africa Week 2020, and it's also on YouTube. We're talking about Afrofuturism. We're talking about, Black men and masculinity. It is, the schedule is just like, it's still filling now. As we're talking, I'm like getting texts about people coming onto the schedule. And it's really sort of like, it is a family reunion, but it does have the impact of like TED Talks. And we're finding that people are going through our library like that. Like, even if they don't come live, people are just like going through our stuff because it's all a lot of really amazing movers and shakers, community builders, academics, performers, people who are who are just open and willing to talk about their journey. It's something I'm very proud of and excited to be doing.
Well, I'm pretty darn excited that you're doing it too, because
Yeah,
I can just see that it's just, you won't even recognize anything in 10 years. It's just way bigger than even that you've seen, which is big. It's
yeah,
huge, but
yeah,
actually bigger. And it's ginormous, and I love that. So
yes,
we're coming up on the hour, and what I'd like to end with is gratitude has been the life transformer for me,
yeah.
stepping into looking for what is good instead of what isn't. And I look for who I'm grateful for in this world. So today, who would you say that you are grateful for?
I am incredibly grateful for, oh, there's my alarm. I'm incredibly grateful for my parents. You know, as I've been looking at these fires, I live in Portland, Oregon, and as I've been looking at a lot of my friends who've had their houses just towns and houses destructed, and
Yeah.
they are, you know, trying to move with their family and their pets and like everybody in their life, and they're trying to figure out where they're going to go and you know how they're going to rebuild and everything. And here I am in Portland. Today's the first day of rain, so the air is nice, but for like 3 or 4 days there was just like haze coming in, and it's just like smoke for a week, and then haze coming into my apartment.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you know, if this, it started getting close, but it never actually came here to where I live. And I was just like, wow, if anything ever happens to me, like if my apartment were to burn down or if I had to leave, um, I could always go to my parents' house. Like I have that relationship with my parents. And I was telling them on the phone like a few days ago, I was like, I just I can't breathe in my apartment. I'm like standing in grocery stores pretending to shop just so I can have like clean air for a little while. And
Mm.
I need to figure this out. They sent me an air filter, you know, like they were just like, and it was just sitting next to my door. And I was like, gosh, like, you know, I'm so lucky that and blessed that if there ever was a tragedy, if ever, you know, something went bad for me, I could just go home. I always have that support, and I know that not everybody has that
Mm-mm.
um, ever in their life, you know. So I'm really grateful. I'm feeling really really grateful for that today. My parents.
I I love that so very much, and I appreciate it as well. I appreciate your parents. I'm that way with my grown sons. I have a 32-year-old and a 28-year-old. They're both here.
Yeah,
I love I it's just that's just how it is. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful today for you showing up the way you show up in this world, but also for
yeah,
bringing new and exciting perspectives and solutions. That's the insane gorgeous part about this, is that you bring solutions, and that is rock star stuff right there. That's what it's made about. That's what it's all about.
yeah,
So my question to the audience before we go is, who are you grateful for? Go forward today with the mindful intention to exercise unconditional love to the best of your ability. But we can only do the best with what we can only do with what we've got. The best we can with, never mind it. Do you know what I mean, right? Jiminy crickets, it's not coming out. And Edith is gonna call her mom today there.
yay! Call your mom.
All right, guys. I love you. Peace. And I love you, audience. You guys rock. We will
Yes,
see
please
you.
reach out. Yes.
Please. There you love you.